Good evening, guys. Live from Beit Shemesh in Israel. This week is going to be the Hilula, the yard site of a famous rabbi from Chalab in Syria originally. His name was Rabbi Yitzhak Alfieh originally. Very, very famous rabbi. He came from great lineage. Also, his father and he came from descendants of rabbis. His father's name was Rabbi Chacham Yitzhak, and his mother was of the name Sarah originally. And he moved at a young age to Jerusalem, very, very young age. And he automatically started learning Torah. He learned in the yeshiva Beit, which was famous yeshiva, which many of the Sfardim Rabbonim ended up being garnered, nurtured from this great yeshiva, respectively. So he learned at a young age, and he became a master within the laws of shechita, of slaughtering, and he could have become like a famous butcher, but naturally ended up becoming a master Torah learner and teacher and Kabbalist at the end, as I will describe in the next few minutes. And he garnered a huge reputation after getting married in the year 1907. He actually got a prominent role in the Yerushalayim Bet Din, which was very difficult to get if you're under the age of 30. And he was only aged about 28 or 27 at the time, which was a very young age, and garnered a huge reputation. Several years later, he moved to the city of Rishon LeZion and had a huge amount of students, of Torah students. And he actually became famous. Every year he would take 50 Talmidim students and do a pilgrimage in the 3 pilgrimage festivals on Shavuot, Sukkot and Pesach respectively. He did that in fantastic honor and in fashion, and he was teaching for many years Torah, moved back to Jerusalem and continued teaching in the yeshiva, and he actually raised a lot of money for the yeshiva and sustained a lot of students that wouldn't have been able to afford or to learn Torah. So many great students actually came from him originally, because in his zchut. And in the year 1935, he wrote several works, including the first book which he wrote. He edited a book of the year Ya'ir Nativ, which was a book that needed a bit more touching up to. He was able to add his thoughts also to it, and it was distributed widely around Israel and across the world. And also there was his famous work of the name, which was called the Reach Yitzchak, which was published worldwide, still in many bookstores and in houses across the world. And it was like a beginner's introduction also in a way to Kabbalah, to gently bring people in and to explain the different things. So now the famous story about Rabbi Yitzhak Alfieh was that in the year 1942, it was very famous. All the historians, if some of you fantastic historians are out there, you would know the famous story when the Germans wanted to come inside Egypt and came onto the border, and they wanted to come, and eventually their plan was to enter Eretz Israel, and it could have caused massive havoc there eventually. So it was a famous story that Rabbi Yaakov AbuHazera, he came to Rabbi Yitzhak Alfieh in a dream while he was living in Jerusalem. And these great rabbis had the greatest dream. So Rabbi Yaakov AbuHazera told him, he beseeched him, please to come to his kever in Egypt, his burial plot in Egypt, and do a whole Kabbalistic prayer and everything else. And said it's so important to do it. It came inside the dream. And he didn't hesitate, Rabbi Yitzhak Alfieh. He actually went to the governor of Egypt, and very difficult it was, potentially risked his life, but he actually travelled all the way to Egypt from Jerusalem, which risked his life, especially at the time of the Second World War. And he went and was met by the Egyptian Jewish community when he got to Egypt, and it was right in the area where the Egyptians were planning to, where the Germans were planning to besiege, to enter into this territory, which eventually they wanted to come inside the land of Israel. So he actually davened in the kever with a load of other people. They did the taniyot, where they didn't eat. They blow the shofar over there. They did special Yehudim, special Kabbalistic prayers in the highest of intentions, and the tefillot. They all gathered and beseeched and cried Hashem. They also did a Tanit Dibor. He was famous for this thing being called a Tanit Dibor, where people will not speak because unfortunately so many bad things can come from the mouth. They all did these tefillot. This was in the burial plot, and within hours later, the Germans were defeated. Miraculously, and also partly thanks to, I believe, the British Army. My history is not too much in, and it was in an area famously called, you can check it on Wikipedia, of the name Alamein in Egypt. It was in that area, and that was literally hours after they did all these tefillot by the burial plot, and all came from this dream. So one in a way could say, and there'll be skeptics out there, that it was him that actually stopped this actual event that he actually did, risking his life to Israel, potentially was sowing seeds to stopping them from entering Israel. Be it as it may, other people will not look at it it that way, but a phenomenal story anyway. This happened in the year 1942, I believe. So he was a phenomenal rabbi, and came back to Israel, obviously, and garnered a huge reputation. He was famous across Israel, actually, for this idea of the Tanit Dibur, where people will not speak, people will be careful. Just like people fast, like we are going to fast on Yom Kippur and Som Gedalia in the next couple of weeks, respectively. It was a fasting of not speaking because of the Lashon Hara that could come about, that people could say, and everything else, be it as it may. So he was an expert at that, and he sadly passed away in the year 1955 after having some machala, some illness, and he passed away, I believe, just under the age of 80. He was buried in Yerushalayim, I believe, in Israel, and still to this day he's garnered a huge reputation as one of the greatest rabbis, arguably, in the history, especially one of the greatest Syrian rabbis from Chalab, naturally. And he passed away in the year 1955. He actually had a great student of the name of Rabbi Ovadia Hodaya also, who actually ended up becoming a very esteemed and huge rabbi also. And he was without doubt, Rabbi Mordechai Eliyahu was the Rishon LeZion of Israel not long ago. He actually said he was the Lamed Vav Tzadikim, one of the 36 hidden Tzadikim of Israel. There's so much great stuff that can be said about Rabbi Yitzhak Alfieh. And also he was the 26th of Elul, which is going to be tomorrow night as I'm doing this video at the moment. So guys, we should light candles. May all his zuchiyot, he's got tons of zuchiyot. He's done so much, did so much for Am Yisrael and for the world, technically, you could argue, with everything else. And may it be a protection for all of Am Yisrael, for all of us, guys. I would investigate on him, because unfortunately in the English language there's not many videos on Rabbi Yitzhak Alfieh. And there's a lot in French, in Spanish, in Hebrew there's a lot, but there's no videos and not much articles in English. I hope please share this video, and it will be good if you spread the word about him. It's his Hilula tonight, 26th of Elul, and make his neshama and all the good deeds he's done being protecting Am Yisrael now in this time period in the year 2022. Guys, I want to wish you all a fantastic day. Enjoy. Bye.